So speaking of the WRX, if you saw whenever we put in the lowering springs for this car, I managed to break one bolt right back here on the top hat. Surprisingly, the only one that wasn't rusted on this car, and they finally came in today. We have these new ones. I'm just going to replace the one side for now, and maybe I'll sync up the other one at some other point, but for now we just got to fix that so that way it's better to drive around on and I don't fail inspection. Okay, so like before in the lowering springs video, you know, gotta pop this off, pop that off, loosen these two things, and then we can loosen these top two ones up here so that we can pull the whole thing out and hopefully just swap out the top hat. It should be a lot easier than last time too, because these just came out like a little bit over a week ago from whenever I recorded that video, so hopefully we have a lot easier of a time getting them out this time. Okay, so now we got our new top hat on here, and we gotta cross our fingers that it all lines up this time. Okay, so now that we got these top three nuts on here, it'll help it so it holds the bottom part while we try and pop these two bolts on the bottom end, because these ones can be a little trickier to line up down here, so we'll go ahead and try and pop those in. It does help to get these three bolts in here first, so that way you can play with the bottom part, and this is already set up in here. So after taking the whole suspension apart, it only took like 15 minutes to pop those new top hats in. So we're good to pop the wheel back on. Alright y'all, so here we got the new trunk. It looks pretty good. He said he kept it in the garage for a while. I popped it on whenever I was there so that way I could drive home with this, since it wouldn't have fit in the back seat, and I just put my old trunk in the back seat. But it is a little bit dirty. It does need a wash. As you can see, this is all just dirt that's all over it. That just needs washed off the trunk. But this one's actually pretty significantly different than mine. It still has the Subaru letters on it, which I might be taking off. I'm not sure yet. It kind of does look good. Maybe it's just because like it's a switch up from the stock one, but I feel like it looks pretty good. And also I had like fading on mine because the last person who took it off didn't really polish it or anything afterwards, so I think it got like looked like a fading on it. So as you'll see, the one problem that we have with this is I stick my key in, it doesn't work, and that is because it works with the key that the person who has the original car has. So like this key lock, the ignition, the trunk are all the same, so it has his key core in it, and I got my trunk all up here ready to take the core out of it. So I'm pretty sure you got to pop this panel off, and then there's like some different things you can take off in here, and that should make sure that we can get my lock off of here. We can toss it on the new one and take the old one off of that one, and we'll just stick it on here because I'm probably going to end up getting rid of this trunk, so we can just put that one on here. That way it's a whole set for whenever I get rid of this one. But yeah, I mean, look at this. Definitely looks a lot better with the STI wing on there. And it even has those pairing like spats or something. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, like wing holders, which is pretty nice. So I think the car looks a lot better, a lot more aggressive with this, and it really just pulls it together. Even though it's not a STI, we're not going to be putting a badge on there or anything, but I'm pretty happy how it turned out with the STI wing on the back. I was a little skeptical, but I felt like it was something that would help pull the car together to put it on there, and I know there's a lot of people who do it, and it looks a lot better with it on there. So let's go ahead and start taking off the core from this trunk so that way we can put it on the new one. All right, so just gotta pop all these screws off, and then we should be able to pull it out. So let's go ahead and do that first. If we look in here, this rusted out piece right here, we gotta slide out to help release it. Then this little orange piece of plastic, we gotta twist down. Then the core should just pop out. So we'll give that a try and see what happens. Ta-da! These have come in handy more times than I can remember. Okay, I just got the orange tab off. So now that we got this out, we got to go out to the WRX, take the old one off of there, and pop this one in. You know, you just do everything the opposite way. Pop that little orange thing on, put the shim back in. Really isn't that hard. Now we just gotta pop this plate back on in case someone gets like trapped in the trunk. All right, with all that done, let's give it a little test. Oh yeah. So that works. If we pull this, that works too. Now we have to go to this mess. So he said he kept it in his garage for like 4 or 5 years or something, so resolder this wire back together, and then all we have to do is just plug it in. Luckily it's only 2 wires. So let me just go ahead, wrap this in some electrical tape, and then we should be all good to go and plug it in and test it out. Does that mean that I need a new light? Maybe that's why I was unplugged, because it does look a little bit stupid with like one light in the middle being out. Well, for now it works, but gonna have to order a new one sometime. Okay, doing some research here. So far I've only found one company that sells one, and it's like $100. So I'll just have to keep looking. Maybe there's one on like eBay or something I can pick up. I don't know, but would be nice to get that fixed, because after finally getting it wired up, of course the bulb is out. Why wouldn't it just work? So that is the conclusion of putting the trunk on my WRX. So it's nice that it all came together. Really all that I had to do was just swap the lock on it and then go ahead and fix that wire that was loose. And then, of course, gonna have to do something about this brake light back here. So a real fun thing about cameras is losing footage. And the footage that I had lost was whenever I took this off. So I'd recorded taking off this vortex generator, but there's no footage for it. So instead I'm showing you guys the after of it, and after I already took it off. So it did leave a bunch of dirt all over there, and as you'll see, it's not completely clean, and there's this dent on the back. All of these little yellow things you see right here are the reason that I put the vortex generator on in the first place, including the dent. I wanted to cover it up because I wasn't entirely sure how I wanted to fix it yet. So the vortex generator was just the simplest way to take that portion of the car and completely cover it up, as well as covering as much of the dent as possible, because you can still kind of see a little bit a line that goes across here where the vortex generator was, and there's only this much about of the dent that still showed whenever it was on there. But as for this, I think this is glue that the previous owner had put on, because they might have had something similar to a vortex generator on it, but no matter what I try, there is just no way that it's coming off. So I have a new plan for this. So we're gonna do it partially right this time. And I'm gonna have to sand all of this down to get all that glue off. And I'm gonna take Bondo and try and fill in this dent, or whatever is needed to make this dent flush again. And since this is gonna be sanded and there's gonna be Bondo and stuff all over it, I think I'm gonna wrap the roof of the car black, because I've seen those on a lot of cars and I think it looks good, but I'm not entirely sure how it's gonna look on this car, because on something like my Infiniti, it might look a lot better the way that the car's dimensions are, but this might not look as good. So in that case, I am just gonna get this portion repainted, but for now, I figured it's cheap to wrap it and we can just see if it looks good. So now I've been debating on this for a long time, and that is taking off my taillight tint. I feel like it served its purpose for the time, but I think that I would rather get LED smoke taillights that look something like the headlights that are on this car right now. So if you look at this turn signal, for example, the housing is black, but it's still clear for what goes over top of it, and the same thing with these headlights. The housing is black, but what goes over top of it is actually clear, and I think that's the look that I'm going for on the taillights too. I think at this point the tint is just overplayed and I'm ready for something new. It does help go with the black and blue theme. You know, we got dark tinted windows, we got those parent inserts up there, we got the black wheels, the black diffuser, but I just think the look that this car needs is LED taillights that have that black housing like the headlights and the turn signals do. So today, for the first time in I think about 2 years now, I'm gonna be taking off this tint. This is also some of the reason why I wanted to take it off, so you can see it's peeling back, it's folded over itself, because it is like putting on tint, but in this case it's a surface that curves, and I'm no rapper, I don't really know how to rap, so it didn't turn out exactly that well. Or if you look on top here, it's not exactly cut perfectly. You guys might not be able to see it as well because I just can't get in as close, but you can see some of the red on there. So let's go ahead and peel this off. I am so curious because I don't even remember what normal taillights look like on here. So I'm hoping that I don't regret this, because once I peel this off, it's not going back on. Just starting to peel off some of this corner over here. I can tell that there's gonna be a lot of leftover residue from this. That's gonna need cleaned off, which kind of sucks. Actually, it's not terrible. It's just around the edges. It's kind of leaving residue. You know, I'm pretty impressed with how well this is sticking on here. You know, I don't think these taillights are my favorite, but I think just with knowing that in the future I'm gonna be putting cooler taillights on it, it makes me not as sad. There's residue all over this thing, so I'm gonna have to clean that off, but yeah, see, I don't know. These stock taillights really just aren't it for me. They don't look awful, I have to say. I did kind of think that it would look a lot worse whenever I took the taillight tint off, but I think it's just the fact that like the whole thing's red, and I'm pretty sure this is the reverse taillight and the turn signal, and that's why it has to be clear so you can see the orange blinker, and it's clear whenever you back up, but I don't know, something about it, it just for sure needs changed. All right, guys, here it is, the rear end with the taillight tint off, and I gotta say, it doesn't look as bad as I had thought, but it still just looks stock. And you know what, whenever the taillight tint was on there, I didn't really mind the Subaru text and everything on the trunk, but I think now that I see it like this, part of me wants to take off the Subaru logo. I think I'm weird a little bit to where I kind of like some things being on the car that look factory, you know, STI wing, Subaru text on the trunk, all those things like that. But then I don't really like the taillights as much. I don't know, I think I'm just weird like that. But we're gonna get some taillights soon to pop on this thing and make it look a lot better. Because something about the red on blue, I think maybe is just what looks weird. So now it is time to take off the rear diffuser. I don't know, I feel like I like the aggressive look of the rear end, but then at the same time, I don't really like, I feel like this is a little bit too much. And I've done some research and they kind of sell some cool like spats, I think is what they're called. They go like right down here on the side. On the side skirt, you also put one in the front up here and one in the back right here. And it kind of helps the car flow more from the front to the rear. But the good thing about this at least is that if I take it off and I think it looks bad whenever it's off, I can put it back on still. So all these are actually held on by what I think is called a locking bolt or a locking nut. So whenever you stick it up in there, on top there's a little like nut or something that as you tighten it, it just squeezes down instead of you actually having to put a nut on top of there. So it helps push it together, but there's not an actual nut on there. So these should be fairly simple to take off. All you have to do is just loosen those. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so the taillight tint is off. The rear diffuser is off. And I know what some of you guys might be thinking. I'm taking this car back to stock. I think with this car in the past, I kind of made it look like flashy, a little bit racery with some of the modifications that I was doing. And I kind of want to make it look OEM plus, look like it came from the factory the way that it did, and it still looks like a cool car, but not too over the top. With that being said though, that's where I'm gonna leave this video on the rebuild. There is gonna be more parts in the future getting this thing to the point that I want it to be. I feel like some of the mods that I had on here in the past were just kind of cheaper ways to make the car look more aggressive, and in my opinion, I think now I'm kind of over that and going, like I said, for that OEM plus look, like it came from the factory that way, but it just looks a lot cooler. So some things that I'm looking to get done on here are, of course, those new tail lights. I want to repaint the side skirts, and I'll go ahead and show you guys everything. I want to repaint the interior because there's some scratch marks on it. I want to fix that roof, and then I also need to fix my headlights. So like I said, get some new tail lights, make them LED, make them a little bit cooler. We've got to fix the roof up here, get all this dried gunk off the top and fix that dent and then wrap it. Put those spats or whatever they're called here and on the side skirt. Repaint the side skirt to color match just in general. And then in here you'll see these actually are supposed to be gray from the factory, which from that scratch there you can tell. But the previous owner painted them blue, and I think I actually like it being blue. They just need repainted because like down here you can see the paint's coming off. They never actually painted this part. So I think if I pulled everything out and repainted it blue, it would look better than this gray that it is right now. Okay, I think it might be a little bit too bright to fully tell, especially on camera, but there's these three lights which are LED. It's got halo, halo, low beam, and high beam. So on this side, they're on. But you guys might be able, actually I think you can see on this side, this is on, this halo's on. We have the low beam on, but this halo doesn't turn on. So Maybe it's just some wiring issue, but that's happened as of recent, and that needs fixed too. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna call it quits on this video. In a future video of rebuilding this WRX, we are gonna finish those things up, and I'm sure more things will come on that list as we get more things done. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, checking it out, spending your time watching it. I hope you enjoyed the things that we fixed so far with the WRX. It's kind of all been built up over a long time, but I think I like the look of the car right now where it's at. I just think it can look even better if we do some more modifications to it. You know, I'm not 18 years old anymore with this car. I've matured a little bit, and I think my tastes have changed to how I want this thing to look. So I'm excited to see in the future where this thing goes. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.